Yo guys, what is up? Max here, Diablo 4 video, and today we are going over the new best XP farm. Now, I put out a video a few days ago going over the best XP farms, and those actually haven't changed. Those are all still the best XP farms, but what I want to show you guys today is an actually even better farm, and that farm is going to be using Nightmare Dungeons. Now, I've been away for a few days, so I'm definitely not the first person to share or upload this. I don't know who gets the original credit for discovering this, but using this method that I'm going to show you today, we'll be earning around 13.5 million experience an hour versus the other non-Nightmare Dungeons. We're earning around 10 mil at the most efficient experience farms. So you're gaining like 30% more experience doing this Nightmare Dungeon trick, and it is as easy as doing the other dungeons. So I want to explain everything you guys need to know. Let's get right into it. So the reason we're using Nightmare Sigils for this farm is so that we can fight enemies that are going to be higher level than us. Now, you're going to be fighting enemies that are higher level than you for a lot of the time, but once you are in World Tier 4, you get to a certain point where enemies start to be on your level, and then you're actually earning less experience from killing them. Now, if you kill a monster that is at least 3 levels higher than you, you're going to earn 30% more experience than if they weren't, and that caps out. So, for example, you don't earn experience killing an enemy that is 50 levels higher than you versus an enemy that is 3 levels higher. And we're able to control the level of enemies that we're fighting with Nightmare Sigils. Now, Nightmare Sigils are usually a big pain to use and farm and not as efficient, mainly because you need to activate them and run between back and forth, and it takes a lot of time trying to get Nightmare Sigils and then find good ones to run and then getting back and forth between the dungeons, all things that they're planning to change in the future. However, right now, there is a way that we can reset these Nightmare Sigils and run the same one over and over and over and over again, and you can reset it and run it faster than you could a normal dungeon and guarantee yourself 30% more XP from doing it. So on these XP farms, I'm earning about 13.5 million experience an hour, where before I wasn't earning even more than 10 mil. So I want to show you guys how we're resetting dungeons and how to farm the same one over and over again. Now, the very first thing that you're going to need is a sigil that is for a Nightmare Dungeon that is going to have good affixes. These affixes aren't going to change. So if your build is a ranged build, you're not going to want to take the damage reduced against ranged targets. You're not going to want to take Stormbane's Wrath, which can be really annoying. Find a good one. If you can find a magic find or a gold find one, that's going to be even better. And ideally, you're looking to find one in a dungeon that has a lot of elite density very early on, because we're not going to be running the entire dungeon. Showing on screen is some recommendations from good Nightmare Sigils dungeons to run. I want to show you how to reset your dungeon over and over and over again and do it as many times as you'd like. So I have already activated my sigil, so I can't do a step-by-step there, but I can show you what I did. So basically, I activated this Blind Burrows sigil. It's going to be a tier 46 right now, which will give me level 100 enemies. And we're going to jump in here. All you need to do is go into your Nightmare Dungeon that you've activated your sigil for, that you plan on farming a bunch. Once you're in the dungeon, you actually need to leave it. This basically activates the Nightmare Dungeon. Now that it's activated, you don't need to do anything more. You're going to leave it, and then we're going to go find the nearest non-Nightmare Dungeon nearby. Now, when we find the nearest non-Nightmare Dungeon, we're going to go in and basically just do the first steps of it. So this is Blind Burrows. Blind Burrows is a fantastic Nightmare Dungeon to farm. Not all dungeons can be Nightmare Dungeons. So for example, Uldr's Cave, which is currently the best experience cave in the game, is not available as a Nightmare Dungeon. So on my list of the top 5 best XP farms, Blind Burrows was at the number 2 spot. Which makes it a fantastic Nightmare Dungeon spot to run. Same with Champ's Demise is also another good one. But basically, you want to come into a normal dungeon. Let's grab this. This is Eridu. And once you're in your normal dungeon, you need to complete the very first step. You don't want to complete the whole dungeon. You just want to complete the first step. So in the Runes of Eridu, it says slay all the enemies. So we've got 7 enemies remaining here. We just killed them. Now that we've gotten our first quest step completed, we're actually good to go. So now we just leave our normal dungeon, and we're gonna go back to our Nightmare Dungeon. Once you go back to the Nightmare Dungeon, you will have bugged out this Nightmare Dungeon. I'm not sure how this works, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna get patched or fixed. soon enough. Maybe not, because basically what we're doing right now with this is what they plan to implement into the game as a feature. But now you just run over to your Nightmare Dungeon, and now you can infinitely reset it and infinitely run it and run it as many times as you can. One thing to note with this method is it is solo only. To like bug out these dungeons, I haven't found a way to do it as in a co-op mode yet. So if you are a solo player, this is fantastic. If you're not solo, running the normal dungeons or just running normal nightmares with guaranteed level 3+ enemies is still a pretty great XP farm. All right, so we basically just ran this whole dungeon. We're not going to go kill the boss because killing the boss would end the dungeon, and we can't actually reset the dungeon if it ends. But there is the dungeon. We just ran all the way through it. And now you don't have to leave the game. You don't have to, like, please don't quit the game, because if you quit the game, you might ruin your dungeon. You just need to leave the dungeon. And as soon as you leave and enter back in, it is instantly reset. And this is bugged out because we did the normal dungeon, and doing the normal dungeon and clearing the first objective somehow bugs out Nightmare Dungeons. Once again, I am not the person who discovered this. I was told about it by chat and given step-by-step instructions to follow. But there is the dungeon, and it is just reset just by leaving it, and then we can run it again and get all of the XP. Nightmare Dungeons will give you higher chance to get ancestral items if you're doing them in World Tier 4. This is just a really great farm for gear. It's a good farm for XP. You can do it completely solo. You never have to leave the game. I've basically leveled from level 92 to 93 in about an hour and a half, which was insane. So if you guys are looking for an efficient farm, this is great. The big caveat to doing this is that you need to find a good Nightmare Dungeon to run with good affixes. Because if you're going to be running something over and over again, you're not going to want to run something with a really annoying modifier. Let me kill these enemies real quick, and I'll just show you what the modifiers I'm running on this one are. I've currently got... I'm dealing more physical damage. Monsters release a deadly lightning pulse after a short delay. Monsters deal additional physical damage as cold. Monsters take less cold damage. And monsters become unstoppable when my life drops below 30%. Sorry that my camera's a bit in the way, so nothing too bad there. And even if you do get bad modifiers and you die during these dungeons, don't worry, because if you reset the dungeon, it also resets your revives. So if you're coming in here with a squishy build and dying twice, you can just reset and you'll get all your revives back. So there really is no chance of losing your Nightmare Dungeon besides like logging off. So that is why you're going to want to look for a really good one and then just kind of spend the day grinding it out. Guys, that is going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next one. I will have an updated level 100 Hoda build posted soon as I get my character up there, and got some few other things in the works. Guys, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Take care. Peace.